Hi, it's Erin and Simon with Assets and Arbitrage. So today's show is going to answer some questions you guys had from Monday's show. We got a lot of emails, and there was that one common question that ran through all of the emails we received. And it was basically trying to understand, if you guys wanted to seek that arbitrage in other countries, how do you get started? So one of the things that I mentioned to multiple people in multiple emails is it really does depend on your lifestyle. Um, we're a large family, so a lot of the stuff we talk about is scaled up large, right? It's kind of like, am I cooking food for one person or am I cooking food for 10 people? It's a scale up process. It seems complicated because there's so many of us. But for a lot of you guys, if you're single, if you're just a couple, if like we only have one kid, it's a lot easier for you to at least get that preliminary stage started. Um, I would definitely tell you guys to run an inventory, right? When we talk about wealth, I'm going to say it again. Wealth is more of a mindset than it is a paper chase, right? So you want to understand what is important to you. Many of you say you want to move to Caribbean countries. Now, that's an exotic lifestyle. It's nice, it's great, it's tropical, but there really isn't an arbitrage in Caribbean countries. They're typically islands, very expensive. Things have to be imported. The market prices are typically a lot higher than they are in many other countries. And the majority of you were interested in the Caribbean. I'm Caribbean. I don't live in the Caribbean because there really is no arbitrage there. And for the places that do have somewhat of an arbitrage, it's so deep in the rural aspect of the country that you're sacrificing the other things that you probably need, just to get a small discount or a little bit easier going. You know what I mean? When we talk about arbitrage in our minds and our mindsets, the idea is that we can live in a place with a certain lifestyle and aggressively invest. So that's our mission. So if you were trying to decide what you wanted to do, how you wanted to do it, what's your mission? Do you want to just go to another country for lifestyle purposes? Or you're saying, hey, US is way overpriced, everything's overvalued, I'm going to go somewhere so I can sit and stack my sats, stack my paper, put money away, invest aggressively, then that's a whole different conversation. If you guys are into crypto, you may want to look at crypto progressive places. If you're like, yeah, I like crypto, but it's not, make or break, then the world is your oyster. You just have to know what it is that you want to do and why you want to do it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She talked so long, I forgot what we were talking about.
Shut up.
So here we are. What I was saying, take a self-assessment, right? People ask us all the time, where should I move? What's a good place for me to move? But the thing is, you have to take that self-assessment so that you know what you want, right? So if there's a certain kind of climate that you want to live in, if there's a certain kind of, people you want to be around, if you're single, if it's a certain kind of people that you are more attracted to, that you would like to date, you have to take these assessments and see where you want to go, because the arbitrage isn't always in financial, right? Right. So if you like to be around Europeans, then maybe you're more comfortable in Europe, right? If you like to be around black or brown people, you might have to do South America or Africa. And that's the thing. You just take it, and it has to also, like, for example, with us, we settled in Mexico because we had elderly parents, and we needed to be able to get back and forth to the United States
quickly
if need be, right? So if that, there's all kind of factors that play into where you should be. And also, if you're going to try to leave, you got to understand about taking baby steps, right? Right. I'm always an advocate for Mexico because
it's right there.
It's right there. It has the same things that you have in the United States. I used to follow a YouTuber. I can't remember her name. She was from Toronto, black woman from Toronto. She moved all the way to Tanzania.
Oh, I remember this one.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And she was happy at first, but then she was homesick because the further you get away from America,
the further you get away from creature comforts that you're used to.
Exactly. So
there's no Amazon, and it's Tanzania.
Yeah, and so you know when you move, you kind of got to dip your toe a little bit. You know that's why Mexico is good to dip your toe. Like you still have the same restaurants and Apple Store, Nike outlet, all the malls and stuff like that. But if the further away you go, I mean, we spent time in Colombia. Things aren't there, and then you go further and further away. So, one of the things is that's what you want to keep in mind, right? Like how you don't want to overdo it as far as just doing a 180 and getting out of here and then going somewhere where you can't even okay, this is too much for me.
Because those things aren't on your radar, right? So like we get Amazon right to our back door via DHL. That's important to us because we do run a business and we often need things. We homeschool our children. So obviously I'm not getting textbooks and school supplies from here, right? Kids are English speakers, they're native English speakers, they're learning college level information. We order the textbooks, the workbooks, the supplies and stuff right from US Amazon. Now we don't have Amazon Prime here, which is no big deal, right? I have to wait 3 to 5 days instead of getting it the next day. But the idea is that I can still access items from the US to here with relatively little difficulty. What's another thing that's important when you're baby stepping it? Baby stepping it can also mean that maybe listen, 2 weeks in another country is a long time. Doesn't feel like a long time. It is a long time. You would be ready to go back home, get in your bed, and do the things you normally do, drive your car, whatever your routine is. And people take that for granted. They think it's exotic to go away for a month, 2 months, 3 months. I'm telling you, we travel a lot. 2 weeks is a lot.
Yeah.
Right? So keep that in mind, right? Your arbitrage may be to, right now, is just take little business trips to these different places, maybe for a week. He talked about Mexico being a great way to baby step, but in a previous show, he also mentioned Puerto Rico. It is part of the United States. If they have the, what is it, Act 60?
Act 60, yeah.
Right?
Act
so
60.
If you're a crypto entrepreneur and you just want to break on the taxes, it's a good place to look at. For those of you who know Mike Maloney, he does the Money series.
Yeah,
he's also in a gold.
He's a gold and silver investor, Mike Maloney. But he also has Bitcoin, but he lives down in Puerto Rico.
And who's the second one? I mentioned him yesterday. It'll come back to him.
Peter Schiff.
Yeah.
Peter Schiff.
As Max Kaiser would say,
not our favorite person.
Schiffer brains.
But
But he's also, because they want the arbitrage that they get in living in a different country, even though it is the United States. But it's a great way to dip your toe. They also speak Spanish there, right? So a lot of people go to Puerto Rico thinking, they can just kind of, because it is the U.S., no, there's lots of places where they don't speak English in Puerto Rico. My Mexican Spanish doesn't fly in Puerto Rico. I have to turn on my New York Spanglish, right? And that typically does a lot better. But you want to brush up on whatever language you need to when you go to another country, right? One of the main things that we see in people who travel for arbitrage is that they're well prepared. Doesn't mean that everything that happened they were able to anticipate, but they're typically well prepared, so it's a more successful launch, whether it's for a month, 3 months, or permanently. Even your digital nomads, they kind of prepare themselves. Duolingo is free. They teach every single language, and how Duolingo teaches you languages, I use Duolingo, I'm a proponent on it, is they teach you phrases that you need to know. They're going to teach you, may I have the check, please? May I have a coffee? How much does this cost? Do you have any change?
Yeah,
How to say like the numbers, right? Because that's your for your monetary transactions.
yeah.
Things like that. Take the time, and when we talk about investing in yourself, these are also ways to invest in yourself. Get a notebook, right? I call it a vision book, vision board, whatever you want to call it, and start writing information down. This is what I want. This is what I see. You would be shocked at how many people you would ask them, what do you want? And they have no answer.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. So you want to start kind of writing those things down and trying to figure out what that vision looks like for you. Again, he talks about people who are single. If you're trying to meet certain people, be aware if you have a type. Be self-aware. If you're like, yeah, I'm not really into Asian women or Asian men, don't go to Singapore, right? If my son's like, I want a beautiful black woman, mommy. Nice, shapely, beautiful black woman. Mexico's not for him. He wants to go to Brazil. Just kind of be aware of those things, especially if you're trying to meet people.
Yeah.
If you say, I want to meet people, but not in that capacity, I want a business network.
Right.
Pick the countries where you can do that. If you're going to business network, you're not moving to Merida, Mexico. If you're going to network with people, you're going to move to Mexico City. If you're going to, again, for those of you who do go to Mexico City, they have a crypto meetup every single Wednesday in a neighborhood called Roma. So that is just kind of thinking forward. Maybe if you're business networking for crypto, you're in Puerto Rico. You're in Bitcoin jungle in Costa Rica, where the majority of that network are Native Americans. And when I say Native, I mean Native English-speaking Americans. Right. I'm sorry. In El Zante, it's a lot of Spanish, but a lot of them do speak Native English because they live in New York, they live in Cali, they live in all of these different places, Arizona, so on and so forth. So you also want to be self-aware in that capacity where you're understanding where you're going for what purpose. Right? Bitcoin jungle in Costa Rica may not be exotic. You may not be able to find your soulmate there. Maybe you do. But you're going there to business network. If you're a man, you're like, I want a nice wife, or you're a woman, you're like, I want to meet a handsome husband. Maybe Brazil is where you go. And you don't really care about the crypto arbitrage, but there is a financial arbitrage there. Just kind of have those things in mind. I'm going to bring it up because it's a thing. If you don't want to get the jab, you don't want to go to Brazil because you need it to get there. Whereas when you travel to Bitcoin Beach in El Zante in El Salvador, you don't even need to get tested. So understand and be on top of policy changes. What if they change their mind and say, hey, you need to have this, you need to have the follow-up jabs and so on and so forth. Be aware of those things, especially if you're not for that. But it does require a lot of information gathering and a lot of reconnaissance. You want to see it, you have to go see the country. You can watch all of the YouTubes in the world. It's based on people's personal experiences, and they may have preferences or things that they do or willing to do that you missed. And didn't realize, like, yeah, I'm not willing to learn another language. I didn't realize how hard it was to learn Mandarin. I came to China because I know that they're trying to beat us in a tech war. I'm in the tech and this and that and so on and so forth. I wanted to mine. They kicked the miners out. Little stuff like that. You want to just kind of be on top of some of those things according to your personality as well. So self-awareness is the number one thing I would start delving into self-inventory wise.
Yeah, because we can give you all kind of countries and arbitrage and the benefits from the country, but really what you have to figure out is, what do you want, right? Do you want to go to a country that has, certain aspects that, that benefit you, right? Like we said, simple things, weather. Just if you're a person who likes big cities, maybe you go to a big city. We live in the country, small town, that's not for everyone.
Yeah, rural living.
Do you want rural living? Do you want big city living? Do you want access to things that you still had in the United States? So then you have to go to, some of those countries that are closer to the United States. So it's just really about taking a personal inventory of what you want to do, what you want, and then where you want to go. And that's why we say, take these business trips,
Mm-hmm.
right? Pick out a country and you're like, nah, I want to see what's going on over there. Go over there. Like I said, go amongst the people,
Mm-hmm.
see what's going on, and see, like, I don't really like it, or I like this. So that's the way that way, because when you leave, you won't be so disappointed if you go to a place like, well, I heard that everybody was going here, and when you get there, you don't like it because it wasn't for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, just take a personal inventory and figure out, little places that you would like to go. And that's what we suggest.
So also our slogan in this household is everything's fluid, right? When we live in the United States, we are used to getting what we want, how we want it, when we want it, which is usually immediately. Once you leave the United States, once you leave, I'm going to say the UK, really, Germany, because even
Western
like
world.
Italy and France are a little bit behind those two.
Yeah, well, like the Western world,
yeah.
just the Western world.
You don't get things immediately. Like I told you guys, we don't have Amazon Prime. Where our house in Florida, when we're there, I could order something 7 o'clock in the morning and it'd be at the house by 3. You don't have that in Mexico. You order something, be prepared that it comes. If it comes within the week, you're like, yeah, it's here. It could take 2 weeks. It could get delayed in custom. Anything can happen. When we talk about type A personality, we are type A personalities. It is really teaching us patience. It has really been in character development for us, especially because we run multiple businesses. We tend to become impatient when things are inefficiently done and when they are not done to a professional level, right? But that's what you get. You take the good with the bad, and it does build character development. The other thing I wanted to mention when you talked about things not being like in the United States, we're used to certain concepts like the suburbs. There's no such thing as suburbs in other countries. There is a very not obvious, a very distinguished line between poverty and wealth in most countries.
You're going to have like the major metropolitan areas, right? So, for example, you have Mexico City, one of the top 5 biggest cities in the world, and then outside of that, it's just rural living. There is no suburbs,
right?
So you gotta pick. Like, do you want to live in the city, or do you want to live rurally? And there's different aspects of that. So that's why the self-assessment
is important.
It's important because you need to know that if you're not used to living in a rural area, it's different than what you thought it was going to be. And if you're not used to living in a top 5 metropolitan city, that's going to be different. It's a lot going on in a big city like that, a lot moving. So that's why the self-assessment is very, very important.
Mexico City is very loud. If you're somebody who needs quiet,
it's loud,
not the city for you. When I say it's loud, it is Midtown Manhattan loud, right? Horns, sirens, people yelling, drunk people yelling. A lot of drunk people are yelling in Mexico City, even in the nice neighborhoods, right? The car noise, trucks, and there's no HVAC here, so typically your windows open because it has beautiful climate, beautiful weather. It's loud. At night, it's loud. You would think, okay, everybody went to bed. No, they didn't, right? It's Mexico City. So where we live, you guys can't see outside because of the sun. We're going to do a show outside so that you can see it. It's the mountains. It's very quiet during the day. It's very quiet at night. So to us, it is a huge difference when we're doing business in Mexico City and we're there for an extended amount of time. However, I can order Postmates or DoorDash or whatever, and it'll be here in 15, 20 minutes. We don't have that where we live out here, right? We have to get up, get in our truck, go grocery shopping, we cook. There are no, not ride sharing, but the meal deliveries. There's no Postmates, DoorDash, Uber Eats, whatever, where we live in, right outside of Toluca.
And we have to also worry about the coyotes. The coyotes,
they're loud.
They come out the mountains up there. So if we got a dog outside, we got to worry about the coyotes if he's coming down, and
he's as big as they are, so he doesn't.
But they bother him, and they, so you got to worry about the coyotes. I don't know if the people are
And we have rattlesnakes too.
Yeah, we have
They're little,
rattlesnakes.
but they're rattlesnakes, right?
Yeah.
So we do have to be very careful when our children are playing. They're very aware. We keep the grass cut. That's not important to the conversation, but you got to be aware of those things, right? The coyotes don't howl all night, but on the cusp of the full moon and on the cusp of the new moons, that's how I'm able to keep track of all of that. That's when the coyotes seem to be more active. When the moon's waxing or waning, they're relatively quiet. The activity is relatively quiet. So, anything else that they should kind of be aware of? The inventory is the most important thing. Obviously, it's easier to do when you have a second person or multiple people that you guys can brainstorm and think tank with. But what do you do? Right? Are you able to work online? Or is it, I have a very physical job and it doesn't look like I'll be able to do that?
Right.
Are you looking at a career change? If you have a physical job, can you branch out into something a bit more remote? If you decide you want to do the entrepreneurship, I'm going to tell you that it's like being your own bank. You have the responsibility to making sure you generate the income you need to generate in order to support your lifestyle. It is not an easy thing, right? Unfortunately, people think being an entrepreneur is easy breezy. I just set up an LLC, I get a business bank account, I do some work, a couple hours a day. It's not like when you work a job and it's like, I worked my 8, I'm out, right? You owe me that money. It's not. We have multiple businesses we work that sustain our lifestyle. And the point of our multiple businesses are so we can stack our sats, right? So there's the mission right there. We do not deviate from the mission. We do not abort the mission. We stick to that. Our reason for arbitrage is to invest 80% of the income that comes in the house. And we work very hard to make sure there's a lot of income to come in because there's a lot of children and there's going to be a lot of grandchildren we have to disseminate that wealth out to. So that's our mission. That's our vision. What does yours look like? Why do you want to do this? When are you able to do this? When are you capable to do this? Obviously, when we were in our 20s, we weren't able to do that. He was a firefighter. He had a very physical job. I worked at the hospital. I had a very physical job. He left his career. Now, while he was firefighting, he always had the vision, I'll put a whole bunch of money away. So he was able to invest in his deferred comp and all of the different great programs that they have for the city of Cincinnati. But, for me, it was different. We finally had to look at each other and say, how long do you want to do this? I ended up changing careers. I now work in tech. Tech allows me to be a mother. It allows me to be a wife. It allows me to be a business partner. And that was important to us. It gives me the freedom, the ability, the skill set in this day and age in order to live the lifestyle that we live. If we go to El Salvador, I can run all the businesses I need to while we're in El Salvador. If we go to, and we won't go to a place that is iffy on the infrastructure. I told you guys yesterday, my family comes from Guyana. Their infrastructure it needs work. It needs a lot of work because everything they do is so physical, right? You work at the store, you work at the hotel, you work at all these physical places that tech hasn't really built up there. So they don't see the need for the high-speed Wi-Fi, the stable signal. Those things are uber important. So I'm not going to travel there as much. And we do a lot of business all year round. So our vacations are typically business related. They're not even real vacations. It's just away from the home. But I wouldn't be able to necessarily take away from our businesses to go and spend a significant amount of time back home. It just doesn't make dollars and cents to us. So keep those things in mind. Some of you guys want to go to the countries where your family's from. Look into it first. Are you able to get done the things you need to get done in that place? Is it uber expensive? It's an island. They have to import everything. Does your battery cost $12.99 for the remote control when it's like, I could actually be somewhere else where stuff isn't so expensive because they don't have to import it from the U.S. So I would keep those things in mind. Do we pretty much cover?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like she said, you want to take a self-assessment and and see what you need, and then look into these countries.
Mhm.
If you're looking to actually move, because you need to look into the countries, see their infrastructure, see what you need, what what would help you as far as your business or your working, or some countries you can go to and you can actually work, in that country, and they'll sponsor you and give you a visa. So you have to just take a look and see around, look at the landscape and what it is that you need for you and your family and what's best for you all.
If you guys are interested in trying to figure out if there's remote work available, I would suggest weworkremotely.com. I am going to put it in the link. I
Okay.
cannot put it in the comments. YouTube will take them down. But weworkremotely.com. They have so many different jobs, so many different genres, so many different sections. And it may work out for you. Those jobs pay a lot of money to post on that site.
Yep.
So you shouldn't find any scams there. Okay, that's a vetted out site. I can't speak for the other ones, but I can speak for We Work Remotely because I do work in tech and we're on top of those things. What else? They always want to know where they can work. The sponsorships, he mentioned that. Those are very difficult to get, right? So we don't romanticize opportunities. We want to be real with you. It would be easier for you to probably get a gig on We Work Remotely than it would be for you to get sponsored with Procter & Gamble in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
But there are many multinational U.S. corporations. Cinch.com is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
You guys can check them out. They're a tech company. They're one of the largest tech companies in the U.S., so they have all of these subsidiary and offshoot businesses that belong to them. They have great pay, great compensation, great benefits. You can retire there, and you can live anywhere in the world if you do get a position there. They have positions in other countries like Brazil, Sweden, parts of Europe. So you want to look into that. I said weworkremotely.com. Procter & Gamble, and we're not sponsored by any of these places. We're just trying to give you guys a place to start.
Hewlett Packard, HP,
Deloitte.
Yeah, Deloitte. So these places will.
Yeah, we can just think off. We probably should have. We didn't think about this part, y'all. It just came to us. But normally, I'm gonna sit down tonight and because it's a pre-recorded show today. We got a lot of stuff we have to do. We're gonna go ahead and put that in the link. So, and if we think of others, we'll place them there too. You guys can look into them. Mm-hmm. We have no idea if you qualify for these jobs. We don't know what you guys do.
Yeah.
We don't understand what your professions are, what your career path looks like. It's just different ideas in a think tank where it may help.
Right.
And these are multinational companies, so they have, you can be an admin, you can be a scientist, you can be, whatever. There's lots of area for you to look into. And I would suggest, this is just me, right? As a business partnership, as a couple, we suggest that part of your mission should be for you to be able to invest as much of your income as possible.
Yeah.
Right? If that's 5%, that's as much as possible. If it's 50%, you're doing great. Yeah. Right? Or at least maybe set benchmarks and goals for yourself. This year, I'm going to save 5% of my income. By January 2023, I'm going to double that. I'm going to save 10% of it. Mm-hmm. By hook or by crook, I'm going to do whatever it takes. And you really have to have that. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to achieve this goal for this reason. And that's really when we talk about the mindset, that's what it's really about. It's not the paper chase. It's not stacking sats. I know that sounds cool to a lot of people. Like, yeah, I stack my sats. It's the mindset, right? And it's got to be no comparison. You got to be more solid than they are. You understand what I'm saying? So you want to put away as much money as possible for your future. Ask yourself in your inventory, am I in a position where I'll be able to retire at any point in time? Right? You have to ask yourself that question. If I'm unable to retire, if I'm not going to get that automatic pension from the corporation I work for, what is the backup plan?
Right.
There was another one that you always tell us too.
What's that?
Not just retiring, but emergency. Emergency. He's big on that.
Oh, yeah. Have your emergency fund.
You got to have your emergency fund. Black men. Not saying anything about y'all, but I'm going to keep it real, right? Black men get pulled over more than other ethnic groups. You want to have that, I might need to get out of jail money put to the side.
Yeah, and you're going to need that. You're going to need the money to to get bail or bond.
You should have that.
And you're going to need money to get a lawyer.
I'm going to add to that.
You need probably $2,000 just on the side, just in case, because any day you walk out the house, you could be arrested.
You want to multiply that by how many sons you have.
Yes. Depending
on their age range. I would just have it, don't matter if they're 4 or 14. They might be 40, and as a parent, you have to help them out. If you're traveling to other countries, you should have money set aside for a medical emergency.
Yes.
Did you fall? Did you break your arm? Did you eat something really, really bad? And the food poisoning so bad you had to be rushed to the emergency room. You want to have these different categories for your capital to work for you in these dire situations. It was just legal and medical that we talked about.
As far as here?
As far as having emergency. You should have it in the United States. I don't care if you have medical insurance. You just never know. If they deny the claim or we got to resubmit the claim, but such and such needs the surgery now and all of that other stuff.
Well, it's a little different here because if you don't have the cash to pay out for the
medical
services,
emergency, you can't leave.
You can't leave
That's
the hospital.
A lot of countries.
So you're going to have some kind of at least cash reserve, or you're going to have some kind of medical insurance that is international. So we have an international medical insurance. We don't use it because typically you could just pay out. It's cheaper, but if something happens, we can leave the hospital. We don't have to be detained.
They're not going to handcuff us to the hospital bed.
But you have to understand, because you come to places and anything can happen. And you can break a leg, get injured, get assaulted. But when you get these services, you gotta pay them out cash full.
Ambulance.
And you can't leave.
Friend of mine had to take the ambulance, and they wouldn't let him out the ambulance till he paid it. So, and it was a medical emergency. This is not the United States, right?
Crazy, yeah.
These places want their money. But I think those were all of the points that.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean,
But invest, right? The whole point of this show is for us. We're traveling. It's exotic. We love it. We got pictures and Mai Tais and tequila. We want to invest as much of it as possible. We want to be able, the idea is, how much of it do you get? How much of it do you keep? How much of it can you transfer to your descendants?
Right.
That is the most important. If you don't have kids, you might have nieces and nephews. If you can leave something for them, that's still a legacy. Right? Godchildren, stepchildren, however it falls out for you guys, how much of it can you hand down to the next generation? So that's ultimately what our perspective is. That's what our suggestions are. We do not give financial advice. We are not financial advisors. But we are suggesting that you open your world up and see what your options are. You'll feel a lot freer in the process.
Definitely.
So thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate your emails, your kind words, your comments. We appreciate the comments that are not so kind, right? You watch the show. I appreciate it. I ain't mad at y'all. But we're going to see you guys on Monday. If you need us, go ahead, hop in the link, send us the emails. You can leave your comments. We will chat with you guys through a Zoom if it's a very involved discussion, if it's not something I can just reply back to. Hubby and I are happy to sit down and talk the details with you guys. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.